Welcome back to Part of the People. My name is Estelle Martinez, and today we're going to talk about a couple of different strategies that judges and prosecutors use against you in court. Um, if you've ever had to represent yourself in a court of law, more than likely you'd experience one of these, if not both. And so I'm going to go over what the strategies are, how they use them, and how you could counter that. So, strategy number one, they tend to ignore you completely. They ignore your pleadings. They ignore your arguments, your objections, as if it didn't happen, as if you didn't say it. In fact, they tend to kind of move through things as if you didn't even exist. At times, you might even see this even if you are represented, and that's kind of a hint to the attorney that they're not gonna deal with that. They're not gonna put up with it, and your attorney is a lot of times kind of forced to go along with it. The truth of the matter is that is not the way it should go. If you have a legal basis to make an argument, an objection, or to bring a pleading to the court, they need to listen to you. Now, they do this because they've gone years and years and years of doing this and coordinating with each other, that they've gotten very good at it. Um, you do see it a lot in family court cases, and they don't bat an eye. I mean, they don't miss a beat. They will all act as if you haven't said anything, as if you haven't brought anything up, and they'll just continue on with the court as if your pleadings are not acceptable. Uh, the problem here is that a lot of times, us as the public, we accept that as possibly correct, and we abandon uh, any any objections, any arguments that we might want to pursue. We just abandon them right there and then, and that's where they gain their power from. Um, if you don't fight it, nobody else will fight it for you. The other strategy they use, it's a very it's a very well used tactic, that they have, and basically they coordinate with each other. They don't argue with each other. They don't fight with each other, and they kind of follow along with each other's plan. And so, if the judge says that things are going to be a certain way, whether he has uh, you know a, a lawful standing or not, it doesn't matter. The prosecutor is going to go along with it, and so will your attorney, more than likely. You They're going to coordinate. That's why they have their meetings in private. That's why you're not allowed to be involved in their meetings. When you hire an attorney, basically you're stating to the court and to him that you don't know how to defend yourself in court and you need him. And so they will do everything they can. You will never be able to have a sit down with your attorney, the prosecutor, and especially if the judge is going to be there. It just won't happen. This is the reason why they coordinate against you. They make sure that they're on the same page on what they're going to argue and how they're going to argue it. And if you happen to have a legal standing for your argument, and they'll just ignore it, they'll pass right by it as if you don't exist, as if you didn't say anything, and most of the time, we feel like we have no other choice but to accept that. Now, how to counter that? This is a very difficult thing to do, and more than anything, it's time consuming. It's not very difficult. It's just time consuming, and it's nerve wracking. It does play a huge psychological role in the whole proceeding, and this is why they do it, because most people cannot handle that, or they don't feel confident enough to handle that type of pressure. Um, I've seen it in my own proceedings, in my own case, my own criminal case, and my own family law case as well. And these people, they're masters at it. They have practiced it for many, many, many years in most instances. And how? So the question is, how do you fight that? Well, um, how do you fight that? You have to press on just the way they do. You have to you have to stand your ground. You have to feel confident, and you have to act confident and continue bringing it up. Um, a lot of times you'll get through your proceeding, and they will just completely ignore you and railroad you, and that's fine. Don't take it too hard. Everything they do unlawfully in court makes things invalid, and this is where we need to we need to coordinate our efforts in exposing their corruption. This is where all that comes in, because just because they acted a certain way during a court, if you drop it at any point in the future, because, well, what am I going to do? The judge said so, the prosecutor said so, my own attorney said so. Who am I going to get to fight for me? Well, you get to fight for yourself. You have to do the homework. You have to learn the law. You have to learn the rules, and you get to now argue for yourself and fight for yourself. And if you could do that, eventually, this is not easy. This is not an easy task. They will they will push through it, through multiple hearings, through any filings that you do, um, and they'll stand their ground. You have to stand yours, because at the very end, the way I see it is, if you could get enough on them on the record to expose them, to take this to a higher court, to appeal it and take it to a higher court. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. You have to learn to play the long game with this. A lot of these judges and in my personal case, I have uh, six, five judges that have implicated themselves into the case. And out of those five judges, two of them were previous appeal courts judges. And so the corruption goes beyond the the, the county courts, it goes beyond the district courts. This goes into the appeal courts too. They're all corrupt. But just because things don't go your way in, for example, the county courts, that doesn't mean that it ends there. You could appeal it. Now, you appeal it and it still doesn't go your way, that's fine too. That you have further higher courts to appeal this to. And really, that's what we need to do, is just continue pushing this forward until it goes beyond their reach. Now, it will be beyond their reach at some point or another. um, you know, federal courts tend to not put up with this. A lot of people, I've met a lot of people that want to fight the system, and a lot of people want to fight the system through laws. The laws already exist. They're not getting us anywhere. If we don't learn how to fight them in their own game, then we're just going to continue doing the same thing over and over and over again. I've met a lot of people that want to gather together and march against the corruption. That's not going to do anything. What we need to do is learn to expose them on the record, and that's the way you do it. You have to learn to uh, expect to go the long game. You need to expose them on the record, and be willing to go all the way. Take it as far as high up as you can in the courts. If you need to take it all the way to the federal courts at some point, then you have to be willing and ready to do that, ready to pay for whatever it's going to cost, ready to now. And let me tell you, the cost, that's going to be another thing. A lot of people think it costs a lot of money. In reality, if you are representing yourself, if you don't have an attorney to pay, it doesn't cost all that much. If you could afford an attorney, you could definitely afford to um, continue on in the courts for as long as you want to, and as long as you have to. And so look out for these two strategies. They do them very well. Learn to identify it. If you see it in your own case, understand what they're doing. It's not that you don't know the law. It's, do your homework. You need to be confident in yourself. If you've done the homework and you know the law says this and they are all telling you otherwise, that doesn't make it so. This is a tactic that they use to make sure that you give up on yourself, that they put doubt in your mind, and that at some point it's so much that you can't take it. Here in my last court hearing, on Friday, I posted a video right before I went into court. The whole court setting was unlawful. They had absolutely no jurisdiction. The court had no jurisdiction over the case, and the judge had no jurisdiction, no legal authority over the case. And I knew this from the beginning. Uh, I submitted several filings, letting them know of this. They ignored it, and like I said, that's the tactic. They ignored and pushed forward, hoping that at some point I would doubt myself enough to say maybe I was wrong, and then completely give up. Well, I know what I've read. I know that I'm not incorrect in this, and so we pushed through. We went through the hearing. In the hearing, all I did was object to everything, on procedural grounds. The reason why is because the last judge that was assigned to the case, I filed a motion to recuse her. She ignored it. She has 3 days to make a decision. She has two choices. Either she recuses herself voluntarily, or she um, refers it up to the fifth administrative judge to make a decision on the recusal. The fifth administrative judge at that point has two choices to make. Either she recuses that judge on her motion, or she assigns a new judge into the case to hold a hearing on the motion to recuse the last standing judge. Well, in this case, they completely ignored it. Both the judge and the fifth administrative judge ignored my motion to recuse, and so my case was in limbo. What they try to do, and it's important to note that the judge, the prosecutor, and my defense attorney were all on the same page on this. That's strategy number two. If the judge says it's so, and the prosecutor says it's so, and your own attorney says it's so, then it must be so, right? No, that is absolutely wrong. In this case, what they were trying to use to justify their actions, their illegal actions, was government code 25.00256. And that's I can't even say, tertiary rule. Basically, three strikes and you're out. But in this case, the law states that the third judge to dismiss a motion to recuse he gets to stay. He gets to stay and hear the case all the way to the very end. So the judge made a ruling on this date that he was authorized to hold the hearing based on that, even though he wasn't the third judge to deny recusal. He was actually the first judge to be recused. And so by far he was incorrect in his interpretation of the law, and so was the prosecutor, and so was my attorney. They all had the same idea. They all thought that I was not going to catch it. I had to actually request a copy of the law so that I could review it on the spot, and I was able to decipher it on the spot. I read a couple of the first couple of sentences of the law, and I told them that's not what it says here. What it says here is another judge should be the one hearing this hearing and you have no authorization. And he got mad and said, give me back my paper. So I gave it back to him. And they pressed on as if I had not said anything, as if nothing had happened. That's their tactic all the way in almost every hearing. And so does it end there? Well, I mean, we got through the hearing. It was unlawful. He had absolutely no authorization. But probably what's going to happen now is that this judge probably didn't realize that I was going to catch on to all this. But now that I have, he has just stepped out of his authority as a judge and acted in a private capacity under the color of law to break the law, to bring a county court against its defendants. So, let's break that down. Like he just did the one thing that a judge can do to strip himself of all immunities bestowed to him by the state of Texas. So he's acted in a private capacity, meaning he had no legal authorization to act as a judge. And here's another very important note to know about this is that ignorance is not an excuse for the law. And him as a judge, he is held at a much higher standard than anyone else. And so absolutely there is no excuse for him not to know the law. His interpretation, his belief was incorrect, and it was backed up by the prosecutor in this case and a defense attorney. So all three officials in this courtroom were incorrect. They're all three of them are telling me that I don't know the law, that I don't know what I'm doing. Yet they're the ones that went to law school for so many years. They're the ones with so many years of legal experience, and they're making the stupidest mistake they could have made. That judge just stripped himself of all immunities. He acted under the color of law. That means that they're acting as if they are under the authority of the state. In this case, he was acting as a judge when he had no authority to act as a judge, to bring the court against its defendant, to violate my civil rights. I made sure they wanted me to turn off my phone, and I refused to turn it off. I demanded that the judge give an official order. Why? I did this on purpose because I knew that he had no legal authorization to act as a judge, and so I made him give an order, and he did. So I kind of set a trap for him from the very beginning. I requested Cameron County Sheriff's Office to walk up there and provide a deputy, for a citizen, not as a security detail, but as a deputy, as a public servant, as a peace officer that he is. And I asked him to go up there and keep the peace because they've been getting away with a lot of very questionable things. And so I had a couple deputies go up there. I requested that they record. They did not record under the order of the judge, which that on its own is going to be a whole other battle, which I'm not going to leave behind either. Why? Because these are public officials. These are public servants. The deputies are public servants. They're there for us, not for the judge. In this case, as a private detail, that they do have the security detail there at the courthouse. I need to find out exactly who pays them, because if they're acting under under public funds, then they cannot take an order from a judge. They don't work for the judge. They work for the public. And so I'm going to be looking into that as far as like exactly where those funds come from that they're getting paid during the security detail. And we'll see if we can make some changes within their policy there. But the judge ordered him that he could not record in the courtroom. That's against the deputy's policy as well. And so the judge, with no legal authorization to act as a judge, gave an order under the color of law for the deputy to basically break his own policy and not record. Then he gave me an order to turn off my phone. I refused until we made it very clear on the record that he was giving an official order as a judge, which he did. And even at that, I did not turn my phone off. And he said, "Well, if you don't turn your phone off, I'm going to have a deputy take it." And I said, "Well, if the deputy wants to take it." And he ordered the deputy to take it. So now he ordered the deputy to take my property. And all of that, he has gone way beyond his authority. He's acted on a private capacity, and he is basically, we'll see what happens with him. We're gonna follow through with this. I'm gonna request an investigation on him and request criminal charges as well. So let's keep up with that. I'll keep you guys informed exactly what happens from this point on. What they ordered from the hearing was that they were going to deny my motions that I had previously filed into the case to continue on the sanctions hearings, and that he was going to order the clerk's office not to accept any more of my filings. Whether they're going to do that or not, I'm not sure. He has not signed the order up until now. He had all Friday afternoon to do that. I mean, they went out of their way to hold this illegal hearing, and you would think that they would have signed it by now, but they didn't. He didn't sign it. The orders are on the table. They're in the filings, but judge hasn't signed it yet. So we'll see tomorrow if there's any updates on that. I'm not exactly expecting them to give in. I do expect them to fight, and that's fine. I'll fight back. We're gonna, like I said, do some administrative complaints. We're gonna do some administrative complaints and some criminal complaints on the state level and federal level. This has gone beyond the states. This is a civil matter, and so we'll see how that goes. Administrative complaints go to the SCJC, the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. I don't expect them to do much, at least not much at first, up until they start getting pressure from the federal agencies, because they never do. And that's the thing, is that that's another level of discouragement for the public, is even if you decide to fight, and a lot of people do. But if you're on your own, you might decide to take up a complaint with the SCJC. The SCJC never does anything. I'm not gonna say never. They rarely punish any of the judges that we complain against. And when they do punish them, I think it's very calculated. But no judge that I know of has really encountered anything that would damage their reputation or their job security. And that's their oversight committee, and that's very saddening. But we're gonna go above the administrative end. In this case, like I said, we're gonna go after criminal charges. We're gonna go after criminal charges on the state level and on the federal level. We have plenty of proof for that, and so we're gonna push through it. Once again, this judge was Rogelio Valdez. If you all know him, if you all have any stories about him, let me know. Put it on the comments. Prosecutor in this case was ADA Edward Sandoval, big guy from the Cameron County District Attorneys. I believe, if I'm correct, he's like the second in command. Um, Not a very smart guy, I'll tell you that much. And then my attorney is Ernest Hernandez. If y'all have dealt with these people in any way in the past, leave your stories below. I want to hear about them. If you're an attorney, a prosecutor, a judge, leave a comment. Defend yourself. I'm attacking the judicial system. I think there's something very big going on, and it's getting exposed. It's getting exposed. You will see very soon. Guys, this is the only way we're going to get back at him. We could create new laws. There's already laws in place. They don't follow them. They don't follow them. Why? Because they coordinate with each other. We can march over at the Capitol. That's not going to do anything. It never has. We're never going to get enough traction from that to put a dent in what they have going on. If you want to expose their corruption, and break their system from within, that's the only way we're going to get to do it. And how we're going to do that is by exposing the corruption. Let's start with exposing them on the record of all the things that they do wrong, and push through it. I'm not expecting to see my case to the very end. I don't think they're gonna allow that, or at least not initially. But eventually, once we clear out all the corruption, I might reopen it and go after these people. I think by that point, there really won't be a need. I think a lot of them will be out of a job, to be honest. But let's find out. I think I'm pushing this past the level of anyone else has really taken it. If you know of anyone that has, I want to know about it. I want to hear their stories. I want to look at what they did and compared to what I'm doing, and what, to see if I could maybe pick up on something new. Um, Leave a comment, hit the like button if you're from Cameron County. Share this with your friends, share this with your families. Everybody in Cameron County, everybody in surrounding counties need to know about this, because this is our home. Until next time.